In the very heart of ancient Rome, a city steeped in millennia of history, lies an independent city-state. This place is unlike any other on Earth. It is a realm where the echoes of emperors and popes still resonate. Known as Vatican City, it commands attention far beyond its diminutive geographical footprint. Its walls enclose not just a nation but a profound enigma, a place where faith meets sovereignty and spirituality meets global influence. It stands as a beacon of belief for billions across the globe, yet it is also a fortress of closely guarded knowledge, a puzzle box of history. The Vatican serves as the spiritual nucleus of the Roman Catholic Church. It is the home of the Pope, the successor to St. Peter. From this sacred ground, messages of faith and doctrine radiate worldwide. But its significance transcends the purely religious. It is a formidable symbol of enduring spiritual authority. It also represents immense political and intellectual power, carefully cultivated over centuries. Its influence has shaped empires, guided leaders, and molded civilizations. A tiny state, yet its shadow looms large across the tapestry of human affairs. Beyond the magnificent facade of St. Peter's Basilica and the grandeur of its public squares, a different world exists. A world shrouded in layers of secrecy, whispered tales, and age-old mysteries. Within its ancient structures, a labyrinth of untold stories is said to lie dormant. Knowledge, carefully curated and sometimes concealed, rests within its vaults. Conspiracies, born in the shadows of papal courts and secret councils, echo through time. These narratives span centuries, hinting at truths too profound or too dangerous for open revelation. What secrets have been deemed too sensitive for the eyes of the world? The Vatican holds its breath, and its silence speaks volumes. This enduring secrecy naturally gives rise to compelling, persistent questions. Why do vast sections of its legendary archives remain sealed? What knowledge do they protect, or perhaps, what truths do they hide from public scrutiny? What profound meanings are embedded within the ancient symbols, meticulously carved into its stone and art? Are these symbols mere decorations, or do they whisper of forgotten wisdom? Could there be priceless treasures, artifacts of immense historical or spiritual value buried deep? Secrets that, if unveiled, might fundamentally alter our understanding of history, faith, and humanity itself. These questions beckon us to look closer, to peer beyond the veil. This journey invites you to step beyond the familiar narratives. We will venture into the enigmatic heart of the Vatican. Our quest is to explore its often controversial and captivating secrets. We seek to understand the stories that are not told in official histories, the tales that linger in hushed tones, in scholarly debates, and in public imagination. We will navigate the complex interplay of faith, power, and concealment, a place that has both illuminated and obscured the path of human events. Prepare to question, to wonder, and to explore the profound unknown. For over 2 millennia, the Vatican has stood as a pivotal force. It has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of ideologies. It has actively shaped art, culture, science, and politics across continents. Its influence is woven deeply into the fabric of Western civilization and beyond. But this long and storied history is not without its shadows. It is a history that has carefully managed its narrative, its image, its power. What has been preserved? What has been altered? And what has been deliberately forgotten? The answers may lie hidden, waiting for a curious mind to seek them. The mysteries we explore are as diverse as they are intriguing. They range from the contents of ancient forbidden texts supposedly housed within, to the intricate financial dealings that have sometimes cast a shadow over its spiritual mission. We will touch upon the lives and sometimes suspicious deaths of those who walked its sacred halls. And we will examine the powerful symbols that adorn its architecture and art. Are these mere artistic expressions, or do they point to deeper, esoteric knowledge? Knowledge that connects to ancient traditions, secret societies, or even forgotten gospels. The layers of mystery are deep, inviting careful and open-minded investigation. Join us as we embark on this compelling exploration. We will sift through historical accounts, scholarly interpretations, and persistent legends. Our aim is to shed light on the Vatican's most enduring enigmas, to understand why this small city-state continues to fascinate and mystify. It is a place where the sacred and the secret are deeply intertwined, where history is not just recorded but sometimes carefully guarded. Let us together peel back the layers of secrecy and perhaps catch a glimpse of the truths that lie concealed within the Vatican's ancient heart. The story of the Vatican does not begin with marble palaces or golden domes. Its origins are rooted deep within the earth on a hill once known as Ager Vaticanus. This area lay outside the ancient city walls of Rome, a place of prophecy and pagan burial grounds. It was considered somewhat inauspicious, a marshy land by the Tiber River. Fishermen and soothsayers frequented its slopes, little knowing its future destiny. The Etruscans, an ancient civilization, perhaps whispered their oracles here. Even then, Vatican Hill was touched by the mystical, by the unseen, a place where the veil between worlds seemed thin, awaiting a profound transformation. This unassuming hill held a future that would reshape spiritual and political landscapes, a destiny unknowingly seeded by events far from imperial courts. Upon this very hill, tradition holds that St. Peter, the chief apostle of Christ, met his martyrdom. Around 64 or 67 AD, under the reign of Emperor Nero, Peter was crucified. He chose, it is said, to be crucified upside down, deeming himself unworthy to die as Christ had. His humble burial site, a simple grave in a common necropolis, became a focal point for early Christians. They gathered in secret, risking persecution, to honor the apostle's memory. This ground, stained with the blood of a martyr, became sacred. It was a beacon of faith in an empire that often sought to extinguish it. The devotion of these early believers planted the first spiritual seeds that would, over centuries, grow into an institution of unparalleled influence. The pivotal moment arrived in the 4th century, a turning point for Christianity. Emperor Constantine the Great, newly converted to the Christian faith, issued the Edict of Milan. This decree granted religious tolerance, ending centuries of persecution. But Constantine did more than just legalize Christianity. He elevated it. He chose Vatican Hill, the site of Peter's tomb, for a monumental project. He ordered the construction of a grand basilica, the first St. Peter's Basilica. This act was profoundly symbolic, a physical manifestation of Christianity's rising status. The empire itself was now endorsing the faith, building its most sacred shrine. A new era was dawning, where faith and imperial power began to intertwine. The construction of Old St. Peter's Basilica was an immense undertaking. It required leveling parts of the hill and building over the existing necropolis. This basilica would stand for over 1,000 years, a testament to Peter's legacy. It immediately became the most significant pilgrimage site in Western Christendom. Worshippers flocked from across the known world seeking solace and spiritual connection. The Vatican was no longer just a hill, it was the recognized center of Petrine authority. Its destiny was now inextricably linked to the Apostle Peter and his successors. The foundations were laid not just of a building, but of a future global power. A power that would grow in complexity, influence, and indeed in mystery. As the Western Roman Empire crumbled in the 5th century, chaos engulfed Europe. A power vacuum emerged, leaving Rome vulnerable and its people in need of leadership. Into this void stepped the bishops of Rome, the popes. They began to assume civil responsibilities, organizing food supplies and defenses. Their spiritual authority, derived from St. Peter, lent them credibility and influence. Gradually, through land donations and political maneuvering, the papacy acquired territory. These holdings, initially scattered, became known as the patrimony of St. Peter. The popes were not yet kings, but their earthly influence was undeniably growing. They were becoming shepherds, not only of souls, but also of a nascent state. Over the ensuing centuries, this territorial control expanded dramatically through alliances, strategic donations like the donation of Pepin in the 8th century, and military endeavors. The Papal States were forged, a significant territory in the Italian peninsula ruled directly by the popes. This transformed the papacy profoundly. The Pope was now not only a spiritual leader, but also a temporal monarch. He commanded armies, collected taxes, and engaged in complex international diplomacy. This dual role brought immense power, but also entangled the Church in worldly affairs. The pursuit of political stability and territorial integrity became paramount for the Vatican, a far cry from the humble ministry of a Galilean fisherman. The popes, as monarchs, wielded considerable political influence across the European continent. They crowned emperors, mediated disputes between kingdoms, and launched crusades. Their pronouncements could make or break rulers. Their alliances could shift the balance of power. The Vatican became a sophisticated political entity with its own court and bureaucracy. This period saw the Church grow incredibly wealthy and powerful, but it also led to accusations of corruption, nepotism, and worldly ambition. The spiritual mission sometimes seemed overshadowed by political expediency. The complexities of ruling a state brought new challenges and new secrets. The need to protect its interests, both spiritual and temporal, became a driving force. This era of papal monarchy shaped the Vatican in enduring ways. It established a tradition of centralized authority and hierarchical governance. It accumulated vast resources, both material and in terms of knowledge and experience. The Vatican learned to navigate the treacherous waters of European politics. It developed a keen understanding of power, diplomacy, and the art of statecraft. This history of temporal rule is crucial to understanding the Vatican's later development. Even after the loss of the Papal States in the 19th century, the institutional memory remained. The legacy of being both a spiritual and political sovereign would continue to define it, a legacy that contributed to its aura of authority and its capacity for closely guarded operations. The late Middle Ages saw the papacy endure significant trials, including the Avignon papacy for nearly 70 years. The popes resided in Avignon. France, under French influence, Rome, the historic seat of St. Peter, fell into disrepair and relative obscurity upon the papacy's return to Rome in the late 14th century. The city was a shadow of its former glory. The popes of the Renaissance embarked on an ambitious project to restore Rome's grandeur, and at the heart of this vision was the Vatican itself. They sought to make it the undeniable center of Christendom, a beacon of art and learning. This was not merely about spiritual revival. It was a statement of renewed papal power, a demonstration that the successors of Peter were once again masters in their own house. The most ambitious project was the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica. Old St. Peter's, after a millennium, was showing its age, deemed inadequate for its purpose. Visionary popes, like Julius II, envisioned a new basilica of unprecedented scale and magnificence. This colossal undertaking would span over a century, involving legendary architects Donato Bramante, Raphael Michelangelo, and Gian Lorenzo Bernini. All left their mark. The new St. Peter's was designed to awe, to inspire devotion, and to project papal authority. Its sheer size, its opulent decoration, its towering dome all spoke of power. A power that was both divine and human spiritual, and immensely wealthy. The funds for such an endeavor were vast, sometimes controversially acquired through indulgences. Simultaneously, the Vatican palaces were transformed into treasure houses of art. Popes became some of the greatest patrons of the Renaissance. They commissioned masterpieces from the leading artists of the day. The Sistine Chapel, with Michelangelo's breathtaking frescoes, stands as the ultimate testament, its ceiling depicting the creation story, its altar wall, the Last Judgment. These were not just decorations, they were profound theological statements and displays of cultural supremacy. The Vatican Library was expanded, filled with precious manuscripts and ancient texts. The Apostolic Palace grew into a labyrinthine complex of chapels, apartments, and galleries. Every brushstroke, every sculpted form seemed to reinforce the Vatican's central role. This explosion of artistic and architectural splendor had a dual purpose. It undoubtedly aimed to glorify God and inspire the faithful, but it also served to enhance the prestige and authority of the papacy. The Vatican became a dazzling stage for religious ceremony and political assertion. It attracted scholars, artists, and pilgrims from all corners of Europe. This era solidified the Vatican's image as a repository of immense cultural wealth. However, this grandeur also underscored the vast resources at the Pope's command. It reflected a complex interplay of divine mission and worldly ambition. The very stones and artworks whispered tales of power, patronage, and sometimes papal intrigue. Over centuries of its existence, the Vatican evolved into more than a religious capital. It became an unparalleled repository of human history and knowledge. Through its vast network of churches, monasteries, and missions worldwide, information flowed to Rome. Correspondence with kings, queens, emperors, and scholars filled its archives. Diplomatic reports, theological treatises, records of church councils, and personal letters of popes. Ancient manuscripts rescued from decaying libraries or acquired through various means found a home here. The sheer volume of accumulated material was staggering, a testament to its long and complex history. This collection was not merely passive, it was an active accumulation of global intelligence, a resource that could be wielded for both spiritual guidance and political advantage. The preservation of these documents and artifacts was often a deliberate act. It was not just about storing old papers, it was about controlling narratives. The Church saw itself as the guardian of truth, the interpreter of history. Therefore, deciding what knowledge was preserved and how it was accessed became critical. This desire to safeguard information, sometimes from perceived threats, was deeply ingrained. Relics of saints, objects of immense spiritual significance, were carefully guarded. Texts deemed heretical or dangerous were catalogued, studied, and sometimes suppressed. The Vatican became a fortress of information, its vaults holding stories untold. Stories that could illuminate, but perhaps also challenge, established doctrines and power structures. This careful curation of knowledge naturally fostered an aura of secrecy. While the Vatican was a center of learning, not all its knowledge was for public consumption. Certain documents, certain artifacts were considered too sensitive or too sacred. Access was often restricted to trusted scholars or high-ranking church officials. This was not always nefarious. Sometimes it was to protect fragile items or to prevent misinterpretation of complex theological or historical matters. However, this practice inevitably led to speculation and suspicion. What truths were being shielded from the eyes of the world? What explosive secrets might lie hidden within these carefully guarded collections? Thus, the foundations for the Vatican's reputation for secrecy were laid early. Its long history as a political power, its role as a central religious authority, and its accumulation of vast archives all contributed to this mystique. The very act of collecting and preserving knowledge on such a scale created a unique entity, an institution that held keys to understanding centuries of human endeavor, faith, and conflict. This historical development set the stage for the enduring legends of hidden archives, the rumors of concealed gospels, suppressed scientific discoveries, or damning political correspondence. The Vatican became not just a city of God, but a city of closely guarded memories. A place where history was not only made but also meticulously managed and, at times, concealed. Deep within the Vatican's formidable walls lies a realm of unparalleled historical significance. It is a place spoken of in hushed tones, often misunderstood. This is the Vatican's secret archives, or more accurately, the Vatican Apostolic Archive. The term secret derives from the Latin secretum, meaning private or personal. It denotes that these are the Pope's private archives, not inherently sinister or hidden from all. Yet their restricted access has undeniably fueled centuries of speculation and intrigue. Here, the raw material of history, the intimate records of popes and potentates rests. A sprawling collection, it charts the course of human events for over a millennium. Its very existence is a testament to the Church's enduring presence on the world stage, a silent witness to the rise and fall of empires, to seismic shifts in thought and faith. The systematic collection of documents by the Holy See is an ancient practice. Its roots stretch back to the earliest days of the Church, a necessity for governance. As Christianity spread and the Bishop of Rome's influence grew, so did the mountain of paperwork. Letters, decrees, financial accounts, and legal rulings all required careful preservation. Early collections were scattered, vulnerable to loss, fire, and political turmoil. However, by the 17th century, the need for a centralized, secure repository became undeniable. Pope Paul V is credited with formally establishing the secret archives as a distinct institution. Around 1612, he ordered the transfer of key documents to dedicated rooms within the Vatican Palace. This was a deliberate act to consolidate power and preserve the institutional memory of the papacy. A fortress of information was being constructed, one document at a time. The Archivum Secretum Apostolicum Vaticanum, as it was then known, began to grow exponentially. Successive popes contributed to its expansion, recognizing its immense value. It was not merely a storeroom for old parchments, it was an active instrument of papal administration. Here, precedents were researched, treaties were consulted, and historical claims were verified. The archives became the memory bank of the Catholic Church, a vital resource for its global operations. Its contents reflected the vast reach of papal diplomacy and spiritual authority, from pastoral concerns in distant lands to high-stakes negotiations with crowned heads of Europe. Every interaction, every decision, potentially generated records for this ever-expanding collection. The responsibility of curating such a legacy was, and remains, immense. Imagine shelves stretching for an astonishing 85 kilometers or 53 miles. This is the current estimated size of the Vatican Apostolic Archive. Millions upon millions of documents, some dating back to the 8th century, are housed here, from delicate papyrus scrolls to bound volumes of illuminated manuscripts and modern digital records. The sheer volume is almost incomprehensible, a testament to centuries of meticulous record-keeping. It represents an unbroken chain of documentation unparalleled by almost any other institution. The archives are not static, they continue to grow with each passing pontificate, a living repository, constantly absorbing the ongoing history of the Church and its interactions. This vastness alone contributes to its mystique, a veritable ocean of untold stories. What secrets, what revelations might still lie undiscovered within its depths? What exactly resides within these heavily guarded vaults and climate-controlled chambers? The contents of the Vatican Apostolic Archive are as diverse as the Church's own history, and honestly, they encompass a breathtaking array of materials, painting a rich tapestry of human experience. There are papal bulls, the formal pronouncements of popes, sealed with their distinctive lead seals. Voluminous correspondence with bishops, monarchs, theologians, artists, and scientists fills countless shelves. Detailed records of church councils where matters of doctrine and discipline were fiercely debated. Financial ledgers that track the flow of wealth, and petitions from ordinary believers seeking guidance, and, diplomatic dispatches that reveal the intricate dance of power between the Vatican and secular states. These are not just dry administrative files, they are windows into the past. They capture moments of profound faith, worldly ambition, intellectual ferment, and human frailty. Among the known treasures, certain documents stand out for their historical impact. Imagine holding a letter penned by Michelangelo discussing his work on the Sistine Chapel, or examining the records from the trial of Galileo Galilei, a flashpoint between science and faith. There are petitions from King Henry VIII of England, desperately seeking an annulment. An annulment that, when denied, would trigger the English Reformation and change history. Letters from Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis during the American Civil War can be found. Correspondence from figures as varied as Mary, Queen of Scots, and Voltaire. Even a letter written on birch bark from the Ojibwe tribe of Canada to Pope Leo XIII. These items, occasionally displayed or made available to scholars, offer tantalizing glimpses. They underscore the archive's role as a crossroads of global history and culture. Access to this extraordinary collection, however, is not a simple matter. The archives are not open to the general public, nor are they a lending library. Qualified scholars and researchers may apply for permission to consult specific documents. The process is rigorous, often involving long waiting lists and strict adherence to rules. Researchers work in dedicated reading rooms, under the watchful eyes of archivists. Photography is restricted and the handling of fragile ancient materials is carefully supervised. This controlled environment is necessary for the preservation of these irreplaceable records, but it also contributes to the perception of secrecy, of knowledge being deliberately withheld. The Vatican maintains that its primary duty is to safeguard these treasures for future generations, a responsibility it takes with the utmost seriousness, balancing access with conservation. Yet, even for accredited scholars, not everything is immediately available. A closed period rule traditionally applies, restricting access to more recent documents. Typically, records become available only after a pontificate has concluded, and often decades later. For instance, Pope Francis recently ordered the opening of the archives for the pontificate of Pope Pius XII. This period, covering World War II, is one of the most scrutinized in modern church history. The reasoning for such delays is often cited as the need to organize and catalogue vast amounts of material and to protect the privacy of individuals mentioned in sensitive contemporary documents. However, these restrictions inevitably fuel speculation about what might be found in the newer sections. Are there uncomfortable truths, embarrassing revelations, or politically explosive secrets yet to emerge? The very existence of a closed period tantalizes, suggesting that the full story is yet to be told. Beyond the meticulously catalogued official records, the Vatican archives stir darker fascinations. Legends persist that within its deepest recesses lie answers to history's most profound mysteries. One such enduring enigma concerns the legendary Knights Templar. This powerful medieval military order, protectors of pilgrims, amassed immense wealth and influence. Their sudden, brutal suppression in the early 14th century by King Philip IV of France remains controversial. Accused of heresy, sacrilege, and unspeakable acts, their leaders were tortured and burned at the stake. The Pope at the time, Clement V, under pressure from the French king, officially disbanded the order. But did the Vatican secretly preserve documents that tell a different story? A story of political greed, false accusations, and perhaps papal regret? The archives have long been rumored to hold the key to the Templars' true fate. Indeed, a significant discovery in 2001 seemed to confirm some of these suspicions. A researcher stumbled upon a document known as the Chinon Parchment. This parchment, dated August 1308, recorded a Vatican investigation into the Templar leadership. It revealed that Pope Clement V had initially absolved the Templar leaders of heresy, suggesting they were victims of a political campaign rather than genuine heretics. While the Pope still ultimately suppressed the order for pragmatic reasons, this changed the narrative. The discovery was sensational, demonstrating that the archives still held profound surprises, but it also raised further questions. What other Templar-related documents might exist? Could there be records detailing the whereabouts of the Templars' legendary treasure lost to history? The Chinon Parchment proved that even centuries later, the archives can rewrite what we thought we knew. Another period fraught with intense scrutiny and historical debate is World War II. The role of Pope Pius XII during the Holocaust has been a subject of controversy for decades. Was he a silent saint working behind the scenes to save as many lives as possible? Or did his public neutrality and perceived inaction constitute a moral failing in the face of Nazi atrocities? Historians have eagerly awaited full access to the Vatican's archives from this era, hoping to find definitive answers to these painful and complex questions. Millions of documents related to Pius XII's pontificate from 1939 to 1958 have recently been opened. This unprecedented move was intended to foster transparency and allow for objective historical research. The task of sifting through this mountain of material is monumental and will take many years. But the hope is that these papers will shed new light on the Vatican's wartime policies and actions. The initial findings from the newly opened Pius XII archives are already emerging. They paint a complex picture revealing internal debates, diplomatic challenges, and humanitarian efforts. Some documents indicate direct interventions by the Pope to help Jewish individuals. Others highlight the Vatican's delicate position caught between Allied and Axis powers. But the debate is far from over. Interpretations will vary and new questions will arise. The selective release of documents in the past often fueled suspicion of a curated narrative. Now, with broader access, scholars can delve deeper into the motivations and constraints of the wartime papacy. Will these records ultimately vindicate Pius XII, or will they confirm the criticisms? The archives hold the evidence, but the final judgment of history is yet to be written. The quest for truth about this dark chapter remains a powerful draw for researchers. Beyond documented historical events, the Vatican archives are also a focal point for more esoteric legends. Whispers circulate of truly secret chambers hidden deep within the apostolic palace, vaults that supposedly contain texts deemed too powerful or too revolutionary for humanity. This is where historical inquiry often blends into the realm of myth and speculative fiction. The idea of forbidden knowledge, carefully guarded by an ancient institution, is undeniably compelling. Could the Vatican possess ancient Gospels that were excluded from the official biblical canon, texts that offer alternative perspectives on the life of Christ or the early church? Or perhaps writings from pre-Christian civilizations holding keys to forgotten wisdom or technologies? These notions, while largely unsubstantiated, capture the public imagination intensely. They speak to a deep-seated desire to uncover ultimate truths about our origins and destiny. One of the most tantalizing of these legends is the rumored Book of Secrets. This mythical tome is said to contain knowledge of profound and potentially world-altering significance. Some versions of the legend claim it holds prophecies of future events with uncanny accuracy. Others suggest it contains the lost teachings of ancient mystics or alchemical formulas. Perhaps even evidence of extraterrestrial contact or secrets about the true nature of reality. There is, of course, no concrete evidence for the existence of such a book within the Vatican. Yet the story persists, fueled by the archive's aura of impenetrability and ancient wisdom. It represents the ultimate hidden treasure, a repository of knowledge that could change everything. The Vatican's official silence on such matters only adds to the mystique. Is it a mere folk tale, or could there be a kernel of truth to these incredible claims? The allure of such forbidden texts extends beyond a single mythical book. Speculation abounds regarding other potentially suppressed documents. Could there be records detailing scientific discoveries made centuries before their official recognition? Or philosophical treatises that challenge the very foundations of Western thought? Some theories even propose that the Vatican holds irrefutable proof or disproof of paranormal phenomena. The line between what is plausible and what is pure fantasy becomes increasingly blurred. The archives, by their very nature as a vast, partially inaccessible collection, invite such projection. They become a canvas upon which humanity can paint its deepest hopes and fears about hidden knowledge. The truth may be far more mundane, yet the power of these legends is undeniable. They transform the archives from a historical repository into a mythical treasure chest. Ultimately, the persistence of these legends speaks volumes about the Vatican's symbolic power. For centuries, it has been a central authority in matters of faith, knowledge, and history. It is perceived as an institution that has witnessed and perhaps influenced countless pivotal moments. Therefore, it seems logical to some that it must also hold the keys to the world's greatest secrets. Whether these secrets are historical, scientific, or spiritual, the archives remain the focal point. The human desire to uncover what is concealed, to bring light to darkness, is a powerful motivator. And so the Vatican's secret archives will likely continue to be a source of fascination, a place where the search for historical truth intertwines with the enduring quest for hidden wisdom. Its shelves hold not just paper and ink, but the weight of unanswered questions and enduring mysteries. The office of the Pope is one of immense spiritual authority, yet the men who occupy this sacred role are undeniably human. They live, they lead, and inevitably they pass from this world. Throughout the Vatican's long and complex history, the deaths of popes have varied. Many have died peacefully, their reigns concluding with natural finality. However, some papal demises have been shrouded in uncertainty, even suspicion. These events, occurring within the private confines of the Apostolic Palace, can easily spark intrigue. The transition of power, even in a spiritual institution, is a critical moment, and when death arrives unexpectedly, questions often follow in its wake. The very nature of the papacy, secluded yet globally significant, invites scrutiny. In the tumultuous early centuries and medieval period, popes were not always safe. They faced political upheaval, schisms within the church, and threats from powerful rulers. Some popes died in exile, others under mysterious or violent circumstances. The struggle for power in Rome and beyond often placed the pontiff in perilous positions. Their lives were sometimes forfeit to the ambitions of competing factions or empires. These historical precedents, though distant, contribute to an underlying narrative, a narrative that acknowledges the vulnerability inherent in such a prominent position. The weight of the world rests on their shoulders, a burden that can attract danger. Thus, sudden papal deaths, even in more modern times, can resonate with these older echoes. The palace walls, though strong, cannot always shield from every human machination. The Apostolic Palace itself, the official residence of the reigning Pope, is a unique setting. It is a vast complex of apartments, chapels, offices and courtyards. While parts are public, the Pope's private quarters are intensely guarded and secluded. Only a small circle of trusted aides, secretaries and medical staff typically have access. This inherent privacy, designed for security and contemplation, can become a double-edged sword. When a pope dies suddenly, especially if unseen by many in his final hours, information is controlled. The initial reports, the details released, are managed by a close-knit internal group. This can lead to speculation, particularly if the death seems premature or unexpected to the world. The very seclusion that protects the pontiff can also obscure the precise circumstances of his end. This environment means that not all mysteries surrounding papal deaths are relics of a bygone era. While the Vatican is a modern state, its traditions and internal workings are ancient. There is often a preference for discretion, for managing sensitive information quietly. This approach, while sometimes understandable, can inadvertently fuel more questions than it answers. In the absence of complete transparency, human nature tends to fill the void with theories. The deaths of popes are not just personal tragedies, they are events of global religious significance. They mark the end of one chapter and the uncertain beginning of another. It is this intersection of human frailty, immense power, and institutional secrecy that sets the stage for some of the Vatican's most enduring and debated mysteries. Mysteries that often center on the men who wore the papal ring. In August 1978, the College of Cardinals elected Albino Luciani as Pope. He took the name John Paul I, combining the names of his two immediate predecessors. Known for his humility and warm smile, he was quickly dubbed the Smiling Pope. His pontificate brought a sense of freshness and optimism to the Church. The world watched, anticipating the direction this gentle pastor would lead, but this hope was shockingly, abruptly extinguished after only 33 days. On September the 28th, 1978, Pope John Paul I was found dead in his bed. The brevity of his reign remains one of the shortest in papal history. His sudden passing sent ripples of disbelief and sorrow across the globe. A pontificate barely begun, already concluded in stunning fashion. The official Vatican announcement stated that Pope John Paul I died of a myocardial infarction. A heart attack suffered sometime during the night was the declared cause. It was reported that he was found by Sister Vincenza Taffarel, one of his housekeepers. She had noticed he had not taken his morning coffee left outside his door. Crucially, however, no autopsy was performed on the Pope's body. This decision, citing supposed papal tradition against autopsies, immediately raised eyebrows. It became the cornerstone of countless doubts and alternative theories. Without a formal medical examination, the official cause of death rested solely on observation. This lack of forensic evidence left a vacuum that speculation eagerly filled. The Pope who smiled was now at the center of a deepening mystery. Numerous theories quickly emerged, suggesting a more sinister cause for his death. Many believed that Pope John Paul I was not a victim of ill health, but of murder. It was rumored he was planning radical changes within the Vatican, reforms that might have threatened powerful entrenched interests. One prominent theory suggested he was about to overhaul the Vatican Bank, the Istituto per le Opere di Religione, long plagued by whispers of financial impropriety. He might have intended to remove key figures, including Archbishop Paul Marcinkus, its controversial head, or perhaps he aimed to expose alleged Masonic influences within the Curia. The idea took hold, a reforming pope, poised to cleanse the institution, silenced before he could act. These narratives painted a picture of a Vatican far removed from its spiritual ideals. The Vatican's handling of the aftermath did little to quell the rising tide of suspicion. Initial statements contained inconsistencies regarding who found the body and when. The swift embalming of the Pope, again without an autopsy, further fueled conspiracy theories. Books like David Yallop's In God's Name presented detailed, albeit controversial, arguments for foul play. While many of these claims remain unproven and highly speculative, they captured public imagination. The mystery of John Paul I's death became an enduring symbol of Vatican intrigue. It highlighted the opaque nature of the Holy See's internal affairs, and it left a lingering question. Was the smiling Pope a casualty of forces within his own church? A question that, for many, remains unanswered more than 4 decades later. His brief, enigmatic papacy continues to fascinate and disturb. The Vatican Bank, officially known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, is central to many theories. It was founded in 1942 to manage assets designated for religious or charitable works. Ostensibly, its purpose is to serve the financial needs of the Holy See and related Catholic entities. However, over the decades, the IOR has been repeatedly linked to major financial scandals. Its unique status, operating within a sovereign state with limited external oversight, created vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities, some allege, were exploited for illicit activities, accusations of money laundering, connections to organized crime, and opaque dealings have surfaced. The bank became a symbol of the Vatican's often shadowy financial empire. An empire that seemed at odds with its spiritual mission of poverty and humility. The very name Vatican Bank evoked images of intrigue rather than piety for many. One of the most infamous episodes involved the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano in 1982. The IOR was Banco Ambrosiano's main shareholder, and Archbishop Paul Marcinkus sat on its board. Roberto Calvi, chairman of Banco Ambrosiano, was known as God's banker due to his Vatican ties. When the bank failed with massive debts, Calvi fled Italy. He was later found hanged under Blackfriars Bridge in London in highly suspicious circumstances. Initially ruled a suicide, it was later reclassified by Italian courts as murder. The Vatican denied legal responsibility for Banco Ambrosiano's debts but made a goodwill payment. This scandal exposed the Vatican to intense international scrutiny and damaged its reputation. It raised serious questions about the IOR's judgment and its associations. The shadow of Roberto Calvi's demise loomed large over the Vatican's finances. These financial entanglements inevitably became intertwined with broader Vatican mysteries. Specifically, they fueled theories about the sudden death of Pope John Paul I. If he truly intended to reform the IOR or investigate its dealings, he would have faced powerful opposition. Those benefiting from the existing arrangements would have had strong motives to resist change. The narrative suggests that John Paul I may have uncovered damning information linking high-ranking officials to financial misconduct or even criminal enterprises. His determination to act decisively, according to these theories, signed his death warrant. The Vatican Bank, therefore, is often cast as a nexus of corruption, a powerful entity within the Vatican capable of protecting its interests by any means necessary, a state within a state operating under its own set of rules. Unraveling the complete truth behind these financial dealings is incredibly difficult. The Vatican city-state operates under its own laws and has its own judicial system. Internal investigations are often conducted away from the glare of public or international oversight. While recent popes have made efforts towards greater financial transparency and reform, challenges remain. The legacy of past scandals continues to cast a long shadow. The perception of a shadow curia, an informal network of powerful insiders, persists. These individuals, it is believed, can influence decisions and protect vested interests. The financial intrigues of the Vatican add a compelling, if unsettling, dimension. They contribute to the image of an institution grappling with worldly temptations, and where the lines between the sacred and the profane can sometimes become dangerously blurred. The papacy stands as a unique institution, blending spiritual authority with centuries of political intrigue. When a pope dies suddenly, especially after a brief reign, it shakes the church and stirs speculation. The Vatican's tradition of secrecy only deepens the mystery, fueling questions that linger for generations. Unanswered questions can erode trust, making the search for truth a spiritual necessity for many. The legacy of popes like John Paul I is forever marked by the shadows surrounding their deaths. These mysteries become part of the Church's story, shaping how history remembers its leaders. The papacy's blend of faith, power and secrecy ensures such enigmas will always captivate and unsettle. The Vatican remains a stage where the sacred and the secret are forever intertwined. The Vatican is a living tapestry of symbols, each fresco and sculpture layered with meaning. For centuries, these images taught the faithful, reinforced church authority and hinted at deeper mysteries. Familiar icons like the cross and lamb share space with enigmatic knots, celestial spheres and geometric patterns. Some see only doctrine, others sense echoes of forgotten lore and secret wisdom. To truly understand the Vatican, one must read its symbols as keys to its spiritual and historical journey. Their meanings have evolved, debated by scholars and theologians across ages. The Vatican's art and architecture remain a silent dialogue between faith, power, and mystery. Every symbol is a clue, inviting us to look deeper into the heart of the Church. Among the Vatican's symbols, the Eye of Providence stands out, an eye within a triangle, radiating mystery. Officially, it represents God's watchfulness and the Holy Trinity, but its ties to Freemasonry spark endless debate. Is it a common motif or a subtle nod to hidden connections in ancient traditions? The Vatican's architecture is also rich in sacred geometry, circles, squares, and triangles woven into its very foundations. Were these shapes chosen for beauty, or do they encode deeper spiritual truths? The repetition and precision suggest intentional design, perhaps echoing ancient philosophies about the universe's order. Whether aesthetic or esoteric, these symbols challenge us to look beyond the surface. The Vatican stones may yet hold secrets, waiting for those who seek hidden wisdom. The Vatican's landscape is dotted with symbols and structures that predate Christianity. The Egyptian obelisk in St. Peter's Square and pine cones in courtyards whisper of ancient origins. Early Christianity absorbed and reinterpreted pagan symbols, easing the transition for converts and enriching its own traditions. Many Christian customs, festivals, rituals, even vestments, echo older beliefs. Some scholars suggest these symbols carry both public and hidden meanings, linking the Church to ancient wisdom traditions. The Vatican's spiritual tapestry is woven from threads far older than the Church itself. These echoes of antiquity hint at a lineage of knowledge stretching deep into the past. The result is a faith both rooted in history and layered with enduring mystery. The Vatican is a sanctuary for relics, objects believed to connect the faithful to Christ and the saints. These relics inspire devotion and are said to mediate miracles, drawing pilgrims from around the world. Among them, fragments of the true cross, the lance of Longinus, and bones of apostles. Yet the authenticity of many relics is debated, and the Vatican's secrecy only fuels speculation. Some relics are displayed, others are hidden, their existence the subject of legend and rumor. The Church's role as guardian may include concealing objects deemed too powerful or controversial. These relics are not just symbols of faith, they are focal points of enduring mystery and power. Their presence deepens the Vatican's enigmatic character, blending history, faith, and secrecy. Perhaps no mystery surrounding the Vatican ignites the imagination quite like the legend of hidden treasures. For centuries, whispers have persisted, tales of unimaginable wealth secreted away. These are not just stories of gold and jewels, though such riches are often part of the lore. The true allure lies in artifacts of immense historical and spiritual power, objects that could rewrite our understanding of the past, of faith, of humanity itself. This enduring fascination speaks to a deep human desire for discovery, a hope that somewhere, preserved against the ravages of time, lie keys to profound secrets. The Vatican, with its ancient foundations and aura of profound secrecy, is the perfect crucible for such legends. Its very walls seem to whisper of things unseen, of knowledge carefully guarded, a treasure chest of civilization's most potent and perilous secrets. The treasures rumored to be hidden within the Vatican are manifold and diverse. They range from lost religious texts to powerful artifacts from bygone eras. Imagine priceless artworks far beyond even the masterpieces on public display, or scientific instruments that could prove ancient civilizations possessed advanced knowledge. The value of such items would be incalculable, not merely in monetary terms. Their historical significance could reshape academic disciplines. Their spiritual resonance could challenge or confirm deeply held beliefs. These are not just objects, they are potential catalysts for global transformation. The allure is not greed, but the promise of revelation, of ultimate truth. A truth that many believe the Vatican has held in trust or perhaps in check. One of the most potent legends concerns the lost treasure of the Knights Templar. This powerful medieval order, protectors of pilgrims and pioneers of banking, amassed legendary wealth. When they were brutally suppressed in the early 14th century, their vast riches seemingly vanished. Did a portion of this treasure find its way into the secure coffers of the Vatican? Some theories suggest the Church, which inherited Templar properties, also absorbed their hidden assets. Perhaps documents detailing their financial networks or even maps to their secret vaults. The Templars were more than soldiers. They were rumored to possess sacred relics, artifacts brought back from the Holy Land, items of immense spiritual potency. If such treasures exist, the Vatican's subterranean chambers would be a logical hiding place, a final secure bastion against the tides of history and the prying eyes of the world. The Vatican, throughout its 2,000-year history, has been a center of immense power. It has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of cultures. Through donations, conquests, and its role as a spiritual magnet, artifacts would have flowed to Rome. Many items of immense value, both material and spiritual, would logically seek refuge or be deliberately brought under the Church's protective or controlling wing. The Vatican became a repository not just for its own history but for the world's. It is conceivable that objects deemed too sensitive, too powerful, or too dangerous for public knowledge were quietly absorbed into its deepest, most secret collections, far from any catalogue. These would be treasures beyond price, guarded for reasons known only to a select few. The ultimate cold case files of history, awaiting a moment of revelation or eternal concealment. Among the legendary treasures, none captivates the imagination more than the Holy Grail. This sacred chalice, said to have been used by Christ at the Last Supper, is an icon of myth. Some traditions claim it also caught his blood during the crucifixion. For centuries, knights, mystics, and adventurers have sought this ultimate relic. Its reputed powers are immense healing, spiritual enlightenment, even eternal life. Rumors have long swirled that the Vatican knows its whereabouts, or perhaps possesses it, guarding it from a world deemed unworthy or unprepared for its transformative power. Could this most sacred of Christian relics truly reside within Vatican City's fortified walls, hidden away in a forgotten chapel or a deep, lead-lined vault? The mere possibility fuels endless speculation and quests, both spiritual and literal. The Grail is more than just a physical cup, it is a potent symbol. It represents a direct connection to the divine, a tangible link to the origins of Christianity. Its discovery would be an event of unparalleled religious significance. But what if its true nature, or the message it carries, challenges established doctrine? This is where the legend takes a more complex, even conspiratorial turn. Perhaps the Grail is not an object, but a metaphor for a hidden bloodline, or a secret teaching of Christ suppressed by the early Church. If the Vatican holds such a secret, its reasons for concealment would be profound, protecting the very foundations of the faith as it has been taught for millennia. The Grail in this light becomes a dangerous truth, a potential spiritual earthquake. Beyond the Grail, other earth-shattering relics are whispered to be in Vatican hands. What of the Ark of the Covenant, the chest built by the Israelites to hold the Ten Commandments? Lost to history after the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem, its fate is an enduring mystery. Could this object, said to possess awesome and terrifying power, have been secretly recovered and spirited away to the safest, most secure repository on earth, the Vatican, Imagine lost Gospels, texts that offer alternative accounts of Christ's life and teachings, documents excluded from the canonical New Testament, perhaps for their challenging content, or artifacts from Solomon's temple carrying the wisdom of ancient Israelite kings. Each of these, if revealed, could dramatically alter our understanding of history and faith. The potential for such discoveries within Vatican vaults is a tantalizing prospect. The concept of vast, secret vaults beneath Vatican City is central to these legends. Subterranean chambers far below St. Peter's Basilica and the Apostolic Palace. Labyrinths of tunnels and strong rooms designed to protect against any threat. Here it is imagined these ultimate treasures are stored and guarded, accessible only to the highest echelons of the Church or perhaps to a secret order. These vaults are not just for storage, they are for containment, to shield the world from powers it may not be ready to comprehend, or to shield the Church from truths that could undermine its authority. The image of these hidden depths is powerful, a metaphor for the Vatican's own layers of secrecy, a physical representation of the knowledge and power it holds in reserve. If such extraordinary treasures are indeed hidden within the Vatican, why the secrecy? One compelling argument is the need for protection and preservation. Sacred relics, by their very nature, are unique and irreplaceable. They require specialized care, shielded from the elements, from theft, from desecration. The Vatican, with its long experience in curating priceless artifacts, would be an ideal guardian. The secrecy might be to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands, to stop them from being exploited for political gain or worshipped with improper fanaticism. In this view, the Church acts as a responsible custodian, safeguarding these items for humanity, awaiting a time when they can be revealed without causing harm or chaos. A sacred trust maintained across generations in the quiet solitude of hidden chambers. However, another more cynical perspective suggests motives rooted in power and control. What if these hidden treasures contain truths that contradict official Church doctrine, or reveal inconvenient historical facts that could challenge papal authority? Lost Gospels depicting a different Christ, or scientific knowledge suppressed for centuries? Evidence of early Church dealings that are less than saintly? In such cases, concealment would be a strategy to maintain the status quo, to protect the institution's carefully crafted narrative and its hold over believers. Knowledge is power, and the control of powerful knowledge is the ultimate form of control. The Vatican, as a global institution, has always understood the dynamics of influence. Hiding certain truths could be seen as essential for its long-term survival and dominance. This leads to the idea of dedicated guardians, treasure hunters in reverse. Not individuals seeking lost riches, but those tasked with keeping them hidden. A secret society within the Vatican or a special office of the Curia, bound by ancient oaths to protect these secrets at all costs. These keepers would be privy to the true nature and location of these artifacts. They would understand the potential impact of their revelation, and they would be responsible for deciding if and when any might be brought to light. This concept adds another layer of intrigue, suggesting an active, ongoing effort of concealment, a silent, unseen order operating within the heart of the Catholic Church, their loyalty not just to the Pope, but to the secrets they are sworn to protect. The potential impact of unveiling such treasures is almost beyond comprehension. If the Holy Grail, with verifiable miraculous powers, were produced, how would the world react? If incontrovertible proof of ancient advanced technologies were found, it would rewrite history. If lost texts offered radically new perspectives on foundational religious figures, faith itself could be shaken. The implications would ripple through science, religion, philosophy, and global politics. Perhaps this is the ultimate reason for the enduring secrecy, the fear that humanity is not ready for such profound revelations, or the conviction that some knowledge is too powerful, too disruptive to be unleashed. The legend of hidden treasures thus remains a potent symbol of the Vatican's enigmatic power, a power to shape not only what we know, but also what we are allowed to discover. The Vatican remains an epicenter of profound enigma. Despite centuries of intense scrutiny, its physical presence on the map is small, deceptively so, yet the shadow of its enduring mystery stretches far and wide across the globe. We have journeyed through its layered history, its guarded archives, its captivating legends, from the sacred ground of St. Peter's tomb to the persistent whispers of hidden knowledge. The fundamental questions linger, as potent and compelling today as they were ages ago. Why does this unique city-state continue to captivate our collective global imagination so intensely? It is a place where deep faith and profound secrecy remarkably coexist. This inherent paradox fuels an endless, unyielding curiosity and unending speculation. The Vatican holds its ancient stories close, inviting us always to seek out more. Throughout this exploration, we have navigated the labyrinthine Vatican Apostolic Archive, a truly monumental trove overflowing with the raw materials of history. The lives, and sometimes the deeply mysterious deaths, of popes continue to raise unsettling questions. Hidden symbols, meticulously embedded within its breathtaking art and imposing architecture, hint at deeper meanings. These meanings might well connect to forgotten wisdom from ancient times or truths long since obscured. Persistent tales of sacred relics and legendary, almost mythical treasures add yet another compelling layer of intrigue. These are not merely isolated, disconnected puzzles that stand alone. Instead, they form a grand, interconnected enigma of breathtaking scope. A complex and beautiful tapestry woven from the resilient threads of faith, power, and unceasing human curiosity. The Vatican diligently guards its storied past and, perhaps by extension, its very future. The powerful allure of these multifaceted mysteries is undeniably strong, drawing us ever deeper. Is it the tantalizing promise of uncovering long-lost truths that could reshape our world? Or perhaps it is the intrinsic thrill of peering behind the carefully maintained curtain, a curtain shielding one of Earth's oldest and most influential institutions. Maybe it simply reflects the innate human fascination with the unknown, the concealed, the forbidden. The Vatican often represents a final, unexplored frontier for both historical and spiritual discovery. Its characteristic silence on many sensitive matters only serves to amplify the persistent whispers that echo not only through quiet, scholarly halls, but also loudly in popular culture. The ongoing quest to understand its deepest secrets is in many ways a quest to understand ourselves, a journey into the heart of belief, power, and the stories that define us. Separating verifiable historical fact from compelling, pervasive myth becomes a truly Herculean task. Centuries of accumulated lore, earnest speculation, and genuine, deliberate secrecy intricately intertwine. The Vatican itself, when it chooses to speak, often releases information selectively. This careful curation can sometimes deepen the existing puzzle rather than solve it. Are the more sensational claims of hidden gospels or vast Templar gold merely imaginative fantasy? Or do these persistent legends perhaps contain overlooked kernels of genuine truth? Truths that have been obscured by the relentless passage of time and deliberate obfuscation. Each rare revelation, such as the discovery of the Chinon parchment, only hints at what more might be concealed. The often blurred line between documented history and captivating legend dissolves within these ancient walls, leaving us all to ponder the true, unknown extent of what still remains hidden from view. So we must ask, is the Vatican truly a guarded repository of world-altering secrets? Secrets that are deliberately, systematically withheld from the wider world? Or is it primarily a steadfast bastion of enduring faith, its mysteries magnified by perception? Are the captivating tales of hidden treasures and profound, far-reaching conspiracies simply romantic legends? Folkloric narratives passed down through hopeful and sometimes deeply suspicious generations. The Church consistently maintains its primary role as a spiritual guide for its global flock. Its archives, it states, are primarily for the preservation of historical record, yet the sheer undeniable scale of its long history and its pervasive influence invites grand theories. The unvarnished truth likely resides somewhere in the complex, nuanced space between these extremes, a space filled with both genuine, unwavering piety and very human, worldly intrigue. Only the passage of time, perhaps, will eventually unravel more of these intricate Vatican enigmas. Future scholarly research, further archival openings by papal decree, or even unforeseen chance discoveries might shed new light. Yet it is equally, if not more, plausible that some secrets will indeed remain eternally guarded, forever locked securely within subterranean vaults or bound by the silent, solemn vows of their keepers. The Vatican has successfully weathered millennia of profound change, mastering the ancient art of endurance. It intimately understands the subtle power of patience, the formidable strength often found in prolonged silence. Some truths may be deemed too potent, too potentially disruptive, to ever fully face the unforgiving light of day. The complete, unadulterated story of the Vatican may therefore never be entirely told to the world. Its final chapters might remain unwritten, or at least unread by the public. The Vatican will undoubtedly continue its unique, often inscrutable journey through the annals of history. It remains a sacred place where the distinct echoes of the distant past resonate powerfully with the present day, where deep spiritual devotion and complex temporal responsibilities are inextricably, permanently linked. Its global influence, though perhaps transformed by modernity, will surely persist on the world stage. It stands as a potent symbol of unwavering continuity in a rapidly, often chaotically changing world, a guiding beacon of faith for many millions and simultaneously a formidable fortress of secrets for others. This inherent, fascinating dual nature ensures its enduring magnetic fascination for all who encounter it. It will always invite questions, provoke debate, and inspire wonder. As our extensive exploration of its mysteries concludes, we are inevitably left with more questions than answers. This, in itself, is the very essence of the Vatican's enduring and powerful mystique. It constantly challenges us to think critically, to rigorously question accepted narratives and official stories. It compels us to acknowledge the sheer, humbling vastness of what we do not yet know, especially concerning our shared human past and the forces that have shaped it. What profound truths still lie dormant, undisturbed beneath the tons of marble and shimmering gold? What astonishing revelations might await the persistent seeker or the slow, inexorable turning of history's page? The Vatican's myriad secrets, whether entirely real or beautifully imagined, will continue to beckon, inviting all of humanity to stay relentlessly curious, to keep exploring with open minds, and to forever wonder about the depths of knowledge held within its ancient hallowed heart.